What's up everyone, it's Miles with T1M Concealed, and today we're going to take an in-depth look at holster retention. This is a pretty straightforward topic, so we're just quickly going to cover some basics that will apply to pretty much every holster we offer first, and then we'll dive a little bit deeper into individual holsters. I'm going to show you real quick. The gun I'm using to demonstrate is clear, no mag. Spare mag is also empty. As a general rule of thumb, you're going to want to look for rubber spacers. There are polymer spacers and rubber spacers, and wherever the rubber ones are is where it's going to affect retention. Once you've got your retention adjusted, you are going to want to try in your belt line because the tightness of your belt will affect retention. And then also keep in mind when you're playing with it in your hand and checking retention in your hand, it's not going to be the same as when it's in your belt. It'll feel different. You're going to be grabbing it at different angles, and you're not holding it in both of your hands. So make sure every time you adjust your retention that you try it in your belt so you get as accurate as possible of a result. Another quick thing I'm gonna touch upon before we dive into individual holsters is click retention. That's something that we see in the comments a lot, people asking for their holster to click or asking why their holster doesn't click. It's not something we guarantee on every holster, especially when you go between light bearing and non-light bearing. Non-light bearing generally runs retention off the trigger guard, which is what will give you the click. Certain lights like X300s will also give you a click because they have a spot to mold the retention around. But a lot of light bearing holsters, it's just friction retention. You don't need the click to have a secure fit. So just know that there isn't always a click depending on what setup you get. So I've got this Walther with a TLR7A setup because this is a light that a lot of people run, especially for concealed carry, and it is a light that does not click with retention. It's cleared, no mag. So if you listen closely, it doesn't click, but you do still get the same retention that you would with a holster that has a click. So don't be too concerned about the click. First, we're gonna take a look at the Axis Slim I have here, and this is something, I'm gonna read these because we have too many models for me to remember. The Aegis, the Spara, the Mora, the Axis Slim, the Optio, the Centurion, and all of our mag carriers all run a similar system for retention where they run these soft rubber spacers. So on here, there's two here, one on the mag side. Every single one of those is going to affect your retention, so you'll want to go through each one and make sure you get that perfect fit. Now we're taking a look at the Axis Elite models, and this is also going to apply to the T1M and the Xiphos V2. There are a lot of polymer hard spacers in here. Keep to the general rule of thumb, look for the rubber spacer, and that's where it's going to affect your retention. On the non-light bearing Axis Elite, there is only two, and they just happen to be on the back. The heads of the screw are on the back of the holster, so it's a little easier to find those. On the light bearing, it's a little different because you account for a little more space with the light and click or not click retention, etc. So there's going to be more rubber spacers in there than on some of the other models. So now I have the T1M and the Xiphos V2, and you'll see here as you go around, these are all hard spacers when you look through, and similar to the Axis Elite, the adjustment retention screw, the head of the screw is on the back, but there is only the one rubber spacer on either of these. The rest are hard spacers. So as with everything, look for the rubber spacer, and that's the one that will affect your retention. Now we're moving on to the MSP series holsters. I have a Flex right here, and then this is the original where it's separate mag and gun side. We'll start with the mag side. If you notice, shot cord and a rubber spacer, both of them are going to affect your retention. The tighter you tighten the shot cord, obviously, the tighter it is on the retention. Same with the rubber spacers, same as all the holsters. On the gun side as well, still shot cord and rubber spacers. Same with the Flex. Both sides have shot cord, rubber spacer, shot cord, rubber spacer. So make sure you go through all of that when you're adjusting your retention on the MSP series holsters. One thing to keep in mind with the MSP holsters is it is a universal fit holster based on the light. So it's not going to be as refined of a fit as something like our Axis or Aegis Elite. So keep that in mind. I've got a Spara and a Mora holster here, and these are going to adjust exactly the same way. Light bearing or not, you're going to find a retention adjustment screw right on the front, so keep your eyes out for that. This one's really easy. I have a Centurion here. It's going to be exactly the same on the Optio, which is the version without the hood. Both of these holsters, you have 3 rubber spacers down the front, and that's going to be your retention adjustment. So look for those. All right, I've got the Optio V2 here now. This is a little bit different than our Centurion and Optio V1. We adapted some things to give you a little bit cleaner of a draw. There's only 2 retention adjustment spots on this one, and that way there's not so much pressure on your trigger guard or high up on the gun when you're trying to draw. You can get out of there a little bit smoother. Mag carriers, OWB, IWB, doesn't matter, they're all the same. They're all rubber spacers, so each point of contact for these rubber spacers is going to adjust your retention. I do have the T1 Echo here. This one has 3 rubber spacers. When you look inside, you can see them, but these ones, 2 of them are on the clip itself. So keep that in mind, they can be the same screws that are on the clips. So now I've got my personal Axis Slim setup. This is what I was carrying today, and we're gonna go through adjusting the retention for how I like it. So, to show you real quick, this magazine is empty. There is no magazine in this side, and the gun itself is clear. Nothing to go wrong here. So right now I have this very loose. When you get your holster, it'll come adjusted already pretty good. You just need to fine tune your adjustments. So this is an extreme example, but I've got it loose enough here that it'll just pop right out. And I don't want that. So what I'm gonna do on this side, I'm gonna take a Phillips head screwdriver, and this has 4 rubber washers on the gun side. So I'm going to tighten down every single one of them. And obviously I'm just tightening them down estimated right now. You're gonna wanna go through, tighten it, check it, make sure it's not so tight that you can't get it out, but tight enough that it keeps the gun in there really good. You'll probably be doing this slower and a little more fine-tuned than I am, but now the gun does not fall out willy-nilly like that. And then I'm gonna throw it in my belt, get it on there, and I'm gonna do a couple practice draws to make sure the gun actually comes out how I want and has good retention and feels good when it's sitting in there. So always make sure you practice in your belt, because that will change how the retention feels. Same thing on the mag side, but on this particular holster, it will just be the 1 screw. So there you have it. That's an in-depth look at all of the holsters we currently offer and how to adjust their retention. If you have anything else you want to see, other tips and tricks you'd like to know, let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe this video, and we'll see you on the next one.